Corey, do we have anyone in attendance?
Yes, we do. And I would love to thank Eric Robbins and Lindsay Robbins for joining us this evening.
Oh, good.
And here in just a moment, we will be getting started. Excellent. The time is now 6 p.m. and I wanted to wish everyone a good evening and welcome you to the Jail District Virtual Town Hall. My name is Corey Ringenberg and I'm with the Coconino County Manager's Office. We really do appreciate everyone taking their time out of the evening to participate in this evening's virtual town hall. And joining us this evening, we have the Coconino County Sheriff, Jim Driscoll, and the chair of the Coconino County Board of Supervisors, Patrice Horseman. Thank you both for joining us for this virtual town hall. Together, thank you. Together, we will be presenting information on the Coconino County Jail District Proposition 445. This item will be appearing on the November 8th general election ballot. Following the presentation, we would like to open this session up to the public. We would like to hear any questions you have related to the jail district and Proposition 445. We really encourage and greatly appreciate your participation in this session. So first off, I would like to start by giving some background on Coconino County and the jail district. So dating back as early as 1891, Coconino County has had jails. However, the jail district was not formed until 1996 for the purpose of reviewing jail operations and making recommendations to the Coconino County Board of Supervisors on how to manage and maintain the Coconino County jails. Those recommendations included the need and ultimately the recommendation for constructions of new jails and the levy of a half-cent excise tax, all of which were voter approved in 1997. A blue ribbon panel of citizens made these recommendations and the Coconino County Board moved forward. Today, we have expanded into a full-fledged system of not just detention facilities in Flagstaff and a holding facility in Page, but have also had positive influence and a positive force for the lives of incarcerated members of the community and their families. As the following presentation will show, Proposition 445, the jail district sales tax, supports programs that have had an extraordinary impact on reducing recidivism in our local criminal justice system. Prop 445 also supports the maintenance of and operations of the Coconino County jails, its personnel, meeting the inmates' needs, security measures, and equipment for all of the detention facilities. I want to emphasize that Proposition 445 is a continuation of the current sales tax. It is not a new sales tax, and it is not a sales tax increase. It is also not a property tax. It is a continuation of a current excise tax on the sale of goods and services. Again, I want to thank each and every one of you for attending this town hall, and for all of you that have any questions related to the material covered today and were not able to be in attendance, you are welcome to visit the Coconino County website, coconino.az.gov/jail tax for more information. At this time, I would like to hand it off to Sheriff Jim Driscoll to provide information on the Coconino County jails.
Okay, well, thank you, Corey, and good evening, everyone. We appreciate this opportunity to provide this information. As Corey just stated, Prop 445, we're asking to extend this tax, not a new tax, but to extend the tax that we've had in place since 1997, the 1/2 cent sales tax. Next slide, please. So like Corey said, it first went into effect in 1997 at 0.3 of a cent, not the half cent. And again, this is a 50-cent tax on a $100 purchase. And that's been in effect since 2007, when the additional 0.2 of a cent was approved by Coconino County voters. But again, it taxes goods, services, lodging, and we're asking to extend this tax to the year 2051 for 25 years. Corey also mentioned it is paid for by residents and non-residents alike. So we share this tax burden, not just on the voters or homeowners of Coconino County, but it's an excise tax that everyone pays, including tourists, recreationalists, people who come to our county to enjoy the many things that we have, the great things that we provide here with the opportunities for recreation and tourism. Next slide. The need for the jail tax, I'll go back even a little farther than Corey talked about. But in 1977, we had a fire in our old jail downtown. And that jail precipitated lawsuits against Coconino County and the sheriff at the time for better conditions. We had overcrowding issues. We were not able to provide recreation time, outdoor recreation time for individual inmates that were housed in the jail. And the budget shortfalls that we were facing, we needed to do something. So we ended up being sued, and we're under a consent decree for a number of years, and our jail was capped at 165 inmates. There were times prior to that we had almost 300 people in the jail. So the need was certainly there. And for several years, we transported inmates around the state, housing them in other jails until we were able to form the jail district and begin that taxation process and ultimately the construction of the new jail. Next slide, please. The jail tax difference, when we established the jail district, we had a lot of soul searching to do. We looked at what other jails, progressive jails around the country were doing. We went and visited other places to look at design possibilities, to look at programs that were in effect, and what size jail we needed to serve our residents. And one of the greatest things I think we learned during that time was the value of providing inmates programs to help them gain control of their lives and obtain the education necessary to turn things around and to be able to leave jail and to come back and be a productive member of the community. We also looked at how large our jail needed to be. And as a result, the construction, we determined the right size and built our jail, and at the same time constructed a smaller 48-bed holding facility, a 72-hour holding facility in Page, 132 miles to our north. Next slide, please. So we saw that the value of these programs from other places and saw how successful they were in trying to reduce recidivism, and that's people returning to jail. We saw that revolving door that many times people were arrested 4, 5, 6, sometimes 40 and 50 times because they could never have that cycle interrupted within their lives. So I'll talk more a little bit about Exodus, which is our in-custody substance abuse program that deals with drugs and alcohol. But we also looked at what other services or programs we could provide, what kind of training we could give to inmates in our facility to help turn their lives around, ones that maybe were not addicted to drugs or alcohol, but just needed some kind of a little bit of an assist. So we were able to establish food handlers classes, and we worked with Goodwill to establish some job training. We also looked at education. And even now, a person can get a GED while they're in jail. We also occasionally have juveniles in our jail that we will provide educational services through the Flagstaff Unified School District to these individuals. But then we also were able to see with the population of Native Americans in our community, what we could do culturally and spiritually to provide that connection to those individuals who are in our jail that were separated from families, that maybe live up on the Navajo Nation or one of the other Native American tribes throughout the county. What could we do to keep them connected to their families? Because we've known for a long time that connection to the family is so important on your road to recovery or in your ability to get out of jail and become a productive member in the community. We also looked at life skills, and I'll talk a little bit more about those later, but basic life skills are things that sometimes the inmates within our facilities have never received. Next slide, please. So the Exodus program, I mentioned I'd explain a little bit more in depth on that. The purpose of Exodus is to reduce the impact of substance abuse in the community. It's to get people back on the right track, help them deal with their addiction and control, and change their lives and turn things around. So again, they can come out of jail as a productive member of a community. But ultimately, reducing the number of people in the jail was the reason that we wanted to form the jail district and provide the programming that I've talked about. But we can't just do program without education. So that was also included in our commitment to the citizens back in the early 2000s. Our Exodus program has graduated more than 1,600 participants. Pretty large number. And this is both men and women. We have separate programs for both males and females. The average around the country for individuals incarcerated in county jails to recidivate, or like I mentioned, or to come back into jail within that first year is 70%. Our Exodus program has a success of 70%. So only 30% of those individuals that go through our program recidivate or come back into our facility. This is phenomenal, and we saw this throughout other programs in the country as well. Next slide, Stephen. Here's this information, more explicit information. Any county jail that has a program, a drug and alcohol substance abuse program, has a recidivism rate of 25 to 30%, just like we have. But the ones without the programs, 70%. So that revolving door concept that I mentioned much earlier is certainly evident here. And that's why Exodus is so important in our community, is so beneficial to those individuals qualifying to go through the Exodus program. And just a quote, it changed this person's life. We have had people who were due to be released from jail that asked the judge to stay in jail so that they could complete the Exodus program. I think this is a great testament to the value and the reputation of the program. We've also received calls from individuals around the state asking us to take their child, boys or girls, and put them through our program. Well, we're certainly not able to do that unless they get arrested in our county for some crime. So as much as we would like to be able to accommodate those requests, we certainly can't do that. But it also says what a great need we have outside of the jail for this kind of a program. Next slide, please. So I mentioned some of the programs, but I'll go into a little bit more, I think, in depth. The need for that connection with family that I mentioned earlier, that's cultural, that's spiritual, and involves many traditional values as well. So we constructed a hogan there in the Pickon company that was manufacturing hogans up in the Cameron area. We had it reconstructed on our campus here at the Coconino County Jail. And we currently use that for religious ceremonies, for talking circles. We have a full immersion baptism inside of it as well. But we provide worship services and Bible studies just in that. And outside of the Hogan, we also have a sweat lodge, and that is available to all male or female inmates if they would want to go through a sweat lodge ceremony during their time, if they're going to be staying with us in jail for a while. Next slide, please. So with the jail tax, we have the continuation of these programs. Addiction recovery, obviously, is with Exodus, but we have mental health services as well, life skills. You know, so many of the people we have in jail have a lower reading capacity, many times 4th, 5th, 6th grade reading level. So we have volunteers that come in, the literacy volunteers, and teach reading within our facility. We also have classes for anger management. We have classes for parenting skills that sometimes people don't have. And sometimes that is what got them into trouble. You know, if someone can't fill out a job application, how do they get a job? If someone can't balance a checkbook, how do they manage their finances accordingly? So these are the life skills that we provide to individuals who are in our jail. So it's not just strictly about substance abuse, but again, more importantly, we try to help people turn their lives around and give them some of those basic skills to be successful. Some other opportunities that we've just established is a new program called Pathways to Community. This is a program that was grant funded through the Arizona Attorney General's office. And we have a facility right next to our jail that was previously constructed. And we partnered with the Coconino County Health District to have several of their employees work with our jail staff and conduct assessments of individuals brought into our jail. So once an individual leaves, those assessments follow them into the Pathways building, which is adjacent to the jail. Those assessments determine what needs they have. And they could be housing, they could be mental health, they could be some court services, defense attorney services, prosecution, deferred prosecution, those kinds of things. They may need transportation to get home if they live away from the Flagstaff area. They may need some sort of connection with local job people providing jobs. So all those kinds of services and others we are housing in the Pathways community building, and we have already seen successes. We've already had people who got help, that got connected with services, that got connected with job interviews and obtained those jobs that they interviewed for. So again, Pathways has only been in effect for about 6 or 7 weeks, but we're seeing people succeed. Part of what Pathways does is makes that connection, initial connection for them, and provide immediate access to those services instead of delaying this for several weeks like we've had in the past. Pathways is also giving people that opportunity, giving them a phone if they need a phone to help them make connections with family or to get transported. We provide bus passes as well. So this program, we feel, is going to be extremely valuable over time. And again, it is focused, as Exodus is, on reducing people coming back to jail. Sometimes it's as simple as having a job or having a home to go to or having a family who cares about you in order to be successful. So we've established the Pathways program, and it being grant funded, we're very confident that we will receive continued funding for this program. And as well as, again, the costs we look at. We have a jail cost, but we also have the grants that we will continue to pursue as opportunities arise. Next slide, Stephen. So without the jail tax, Corey, I'd like to kick this back to you, if you don't mind, and to cover this aspect. I think you've got that pretty well down on some of the issues relating to that.
Thank you, Sheriff. So what can we anticipate if we don't have a jail district sales tax? We know that the Coconino County General Fund would be negatively impacted and would absorb most of the costs with operating a jail. We also know that those costs would be displaced to cities and towns to pay for their arrestees and the inmates they house within the Coconino County detention facilities. The city of Flagstaff contributes approximately 47% of the arrests made in Coconino County, and the majority of the cost for operating that jail could be displaced to those residents. We can also anticipate programs being negatively impacted. With less funding to operate the jail, we know that non-mandated services such as programs may be reduced or removed to cover operational costs. With that, we can also anticipate a reduction in people receiving the essential needs they need while in custody, and an increase in recidivism, people returning to our jails. Next slide, please. So with that, I would like to ask Chair Horstman if you would like to provide some comments and foundation as the chair of the Board of Supervisors.
Yes, and thank you, Corey, and thank you, Sheriff Driscoll, for being with us here this evening. And my name is Patrice Horstman, and I am a chair of the Coconino County Board of Supervisors and the supervisor for District 1. And it is, really my honor to join both Corey and Sheriff Driscoll in encouraging Proposition 445 be passed by members of our community. As it's been stated already, this is not a new tax. This is a continuation of the existing excise tax. And as you can see, although nobody likes to pay any additional money, it is relatively small in terms of the investment we are making to assist members, residents here in our community get back into our community successfully. It's 50 cents on $100, 1/2 cent sales tax. As you've already heard, this goes not only for the general programs, operation expenses for incarceration here at the county jail, but it also helps and pays for a number of programs. And I know the sheriff really went into detail on those programs. So I'm just going to say, Exodus, job training, education, life skills. These programs have been shown to substantially reduce recidivism. Not only does that ultimately save money for our community, but it helps get our residents, our incarcerated residents, back to being successful citizens, successful residents of Coconino County. 445, a vote yes on 445 ensures that these programs are continued. As you've heard, if in fact 445 does not pass, then the costs for incarceration, for the general operations and any programs comes out of those municipalities that are using the incarceration, using the jail facility. That is mostly Coconino County and, quite frankly, the city of Flagstaff. And we're talking about millions of dollars for the cost to run the county jail. This would come out of the general fund, which means other critical programs here in Coconino County or in the city of Flagstaff or the city of Page who actually be paying for the operational expenses. It would basically come out of the general operation funds. And as you know, when all of a sudden these municipalities take this large, hit, if you will, out of their general fund, you're going to see costs to pay for operational expenses as is required, constitutionally required, statutorily required. But the kinds of programs that really benefit our residents, the kinds of programs that reduce recidivism, those are expensive programs too. We won't see that those kinds of programmings are going to continue or expand. You heard the sheriff talk about pathways to communities, and I'm so proud of the sheriff's department for getting this grant. This is opioid funding from the opioid settlement litigations, and county sheriff's office applied for this, got the grant because of their successful programs within the jail. These offer additional services to help integrate our incarcerated residents back into community. So I would like to see that expanded. I'm sure most of you would like to see that expanded to help to decrease, reduce recidivism, get our folks that are incarcerated back into productive jobs and being productive members of Coconino County. We don't want to go the wrong way. We want to move forward, and we want to help do what we can to reduce the recidivism, get people back to being productive residents here in Coconino County. So I urge you all, yes, on Proposition 445. And Corey, I'm going to hand this back over to you.
Thank you, Chair Horstman. At this time, we would like to open this session up to the public to ask any questions related to the jail district. If you are joining us from a computer, you may select the raise hand icon, which is located in the bottom right of your screen. If you're joining us from a mobile device and would like to speak, press *9 to raise your hand, and we will promote you to a panelist to join the conversation. Stephen, and if you can share if anyone has raised their hand.
Good evening. I see no hands raised, but there is still a chance. If you can find that raise hand button, we would love to hear from your questions. And seeing no hands raised, I will assume that there are no questions for our live Q&A. But we can go over some of the frequently asked questions here as well, Corey.
Excellent. Thank you, Stephen. And for those of you joining us online, if you do have a question that comes up, feel free to raise your hand. We want to make sure that we're providing you with all the information you need to make an educated decision in the upcoming election. So the first question that we have is, could a property tax be used to fund the jail instead of a sales tax? For this question, I would ask Chair Horstman to weigh in.
Yes, thank you, Corey. And yes, of course, the Coconino County could have utilized a property tax, a secondary property tax rate in order to pay for the operation expenses of the jail. But then that goes to our residents, our property owners, to have an increase in their property taxes. The excise tax basically taxes anyone who comes through purchase goods and services here in Coconino County. So quite frankly, others help us to pay for this excise tax, help us pay the costs for our county jail system. So this way, our dollars, and we utilize our people who visit us, our dollars can go further. And that's why Coconino County chose to go the excise tax route instead of the property tax.
Excellent. Thank you, Chair Horstman. Another question we have is, why are in-jail programs important? And for this question, I'd ask Sheriff Driscoll, are you available to respond? All right. At this time, we may have some connection issues with Sheriff Driscoll. However, I believe he went into great detail sharing how in-custody drug and alcohol programs have had a positive impact on the inmate populations. Programs such as Exodus, which was founded in 2007, has had monumental success with over 1,600 participants The program has been grossly populated and grossly successful, with most of the graduates returning to community and not recidivating or returning to jail.
Corey?
So, yes, Sheriff.
Yeah, let me continue on. I was able to, Stephen got it fixed. So,
Thank you.
you know, the value of these in custody programs, 95% of the people who come into our jail are coming back into our community. 95%, significant amount, are coming back. So while we have them, sometimes we have them a few days, but many times we'll have them weeks or months before they get out of jail. Why not utilize that time to offer opportunities for people to turn their lives around, to change things? Because these are our fathers, our mothers, our brothers, our sisters, many times of people in our county. And think about your own family. If a family member made a mistake and was put into our jail for some reason, how would you want that person treated? What kind of opportunities would you want that person to be able to take advantage of while they're in jail, awaiting adjudication of their case? So we have that literal captive audience. And so why not utilize the best time that we can to turn their life around, to learn new things, to be able to get a hold of some positive things in their life, potentially rebuild esteem, develop some skills that they may have not had before. So, and again, that environment is the ideal place because they're going to be with other people who are in basically the same condition as them. So it creates that opportunity for them to learn and to move on and potentially get out of jail, accompanied by new skills that they may have to be a valuable member in their community.
Thank you, Sheriff Driscoll. Another question that we've heard a lot is, what is the fiscal health of the Coconino County Jail? And I can tell you that right now, the jail is in a sustainable fiscal condition. With enhanced programming, it creates a positive change in people's lives. With fewer people returning to jail, this helps with our jail population. It keeps the numbers down. The extension of the jail district sales tax will ensure continued investments into the jail operations, including maintenance, renovation, possible future expansions, and other in-custody programs. I'd also like to remind everyone, the new jail is now 22 years old, and as an aging facility, it will require routine maintenance and continual care. So to go over some of the financials of the jail operations make up about $22 million a year. Of that, 86% of the jail operating costs are covered by the jail district sales tax. 12% of the operational costs are covered by the Coconino County General Fund. And 2% of those costs are paid for by jail rental bed space that the Coconino County Sheriff's Office rents to federal inmates and other inmates from other jurisdictions. So of the $22 million, 86% is paid for by an excise tax by residents and non-residents alike. So at this time, I'd like to make one more call to the public. If there are any people in attendance who have additional questions for our panel tonight.
Corey, we do have a question via chat, and I'll read that to you now from an anonymous citizen. And I quote, "Exodus has been suspended due to COVID. When is it going to be reinstated, and what happens to the funds when not used to pay for the programs that are suspended?"
Excellent question. Sheriff Driscoll, if I could ask you to weigh in on this question.
Can you hear me now, Corey? Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
And Sheriff, I
This-
believe you might need
this
to
person-
readjust your camera too.
Okay, I can't. Let me try here. Any
There it
better?
is.
Okay.
Yeah, we can see you now.
All right. Yes, with the onset of COVID, we had to suspend programming as many places did because of we have what's called a congregate setting, and we began following CDC guidelines the minute COVID became a problem. So we did suspend not just Exodus, but other programs, religious programs as well, because of the COVID outbreak. We are in the process of getting, in fact, I met with the jail commander today of resurrecting the Exodus program. We have the employees currently for the program, and we're in the process of resurrecting it as we speak. As far as the financial aspect, when we kept our Exodus employees and reassigned them to other duties within the jail when we had to suspend COVID. So they're still working for us, waiting to return to their normal jobs that they were hired for. And that money still comes from the jail district, but with the staffing shortages we had, we reallocated those employees to other duties within the jail.
Excellent. Thank you, Sheriff. And are there any other questions we have from any of our attendees this evening?
Just a reminder, if you're viewing us via Zoom teleconference tonight, you can use the raise hand option to let us know that you'd like to ask a question, and we will promote you to panelists so you can do that. And seeing no hands raised and no other questions in the Q&A, Corey, I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you much. At this time, Chair Horstman, Sheriff Driscoll, if you have any closing comments, we'd like to conclude this session.
Okay, I'll jump in really quick and leave the finale for Madam Chair. The jail can be a very difficult situation, a very difficult problem in many communities. We look at our jail in our county as an asset. We are here to help people turn their lives around. Yes, we incarcerate people, but at the same time, we also look at it as a place to provide opportunities. And when we have so many people who've been successful after they've left our programs, after they've left our custody, this is something we want to continue to do, not just to warehouse people while they await court, but to give people an opportunity to help themselves and turn their lives around. So that's what the jail tax does for us, is allows us to provide those opportunities to those individuals incarcerated in the Coconino County Jail. Thank you.
And thank you, Sheriff Driscoll and Corey. And yes, I will echo the comments made by the sheriff. We need to break this cycle of incarceration. We need to expand our programs to lower recidivism, to help our incarcerated residents as they return to our community become successful in their endeavors. We need to do that by expanding programs. The best way to do that is to make sure that we have the excise tax continued and in place for the future for our incarcerated adults and to the future for the county jail. And I really appreciate people taking time out of their evening to listen to us. I really encourage a yes vote on Proposition 445. Thank you, Corey.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Sheriff. And I just want to remind everyone, Proposition 445 is asking voters if the current jail excise tax should be extended for a period of 25 years. We encourage all of you to take the time to collect as much information and be an informed voter. For more information related to the Coconino County Jail District and the jail district tax, you're welcome to go to coconino.az.gov/jail tax for more information. And I want to sincerely thank everyone for taking the time out of their evenings to share with us. Thank you, Chair Horseman, and thank you, Sheriff Driscoll. With that, I wish you all a very well evening.
Good night, all.
Good night.